Hello everyone, welcome to Secret to Success, episode 17, featuring Grandmaster G Akash. First of all, welcome to the show for the first time. How are you feeling?
Hi Karthik, thanks for having me here. So it's wonderful to be here. I have been following your YouTube page for a long time, and you've been bringing a lot of guests. And yeah, I'm feeling good here.
Yeah, so okay, today we are going to cover your whole career and also like how you work and so on, and also hopefully a lot of viewers will learn a lot from this episode. So first, I want to start with, of course, how you started chess. Like, how did you discover chess first of all?
First, I started playing chess when I was at age 8. So, how it began is because of my dad, who used to be playing chess with other kids in my neighborhood. So, since I didn't know the game, he used to be playing with other kids. That brought me the curiosity to learn the game, and that's how I got in went with chess. So, but the learning started when I was able to join a summer camp which happened in my school. So that's how the basics step for my chess career.
Uh, Yeah, so later on, okay, you started chess and playing these tournaments, and then like when did you start taking it seriously? And later on, like how did you plan on improving, and like what were you doing exactly to improve your game?
So in starting, like every kid, I was also just taking it as an hobby. So once when my coach, in the earlier days, I don't remember who said it, but some many people would suggest me to my parent, like my mom, to take me to the tournaments since I was playing a little bit good at that time. So they were telling, okay, take Akash to tournaments and see how it goes. So my mom took me to the tournaments, the weekend tournaments, which happens like Saturday, Sunday, the half an hour rapid time control. So that's how I got it into a little bit of professional chess career. Then and it was itself a bit a long journey. Like every weekend, I used to be playing, going on for these competitions, and in the other side, you will also be missing a lot of things when you are not doing much in the weekends. So it was a bit tough for me, but since the interest in chess was very high, so I was able to do like manage that. And of course, my parents, my mom was so helpful in that manner. She also sacrificed her time to take me to the chess tournaments. I got a bit of motivation when I first finished in the top 10 prize list in the weekend tournaments. So that's how a little bit of motivation, and it slowly started to build up. Like once when you taste a victory, you get addicted to it. Like you want to improve it, the performance. And next, I finished a little eighth or seventh place, and step by step, I was able to finish first in one of the rapid tournaments.
Okay.
So that's how it went.
Yeah, and like I read in an interview that like you're not very result oriented, and you got this from your father, I think. And like you were just saying that it felt good when you started winning tournaments. So generally, like, are you result oriented, or like how does it go exactly? What is your general attitude towards chess?
It's an interesting topic. So there are two things you should be like everyone knows it. One is like you concentrate on the result. If you're playing a tournament, you concentrate on winning the tournament. That is one thing. Second thing is the process. You don't care about the results. All you think and plan and do stuffs, or it's based on the process and the system which you're following. You just believe on the system and it will give you the results. Both have I think both have the pros and cons. Let's say when you're thinking about the result oriented, you get an motivational thing going on in yourself. So when you see the results in your visualize the results, you will have a higher motivation levels. And but the con is like you may get like not the process of preparing for the tournament may get a little bit delayed in that process. That is the con of that one. And if you consider the process, it is the right way. Like every movie also says that right now. But the problem with the process following the system is you may sometimes get drained out, and you won't have enough motivation to push through the limit. So I think right now with my level of maturity, I think it's better to have both ends. When you're following the process, if you're getting down, you should also be thinking about the results. So that why are we doing this? So when you get to the tournament, you know, like what is your aim also. It is also good to know that your aim, what is your aim of doing particular thing. So you should have a balance between both.
Yeah. And yeah, you were mentioning your period when you started winning tournaments. So what exactly were you doing on the chess part actually? So a lot of people, obviously beginners, they try to improve their own chess. So generally, what exactly did you do, which helped you in your own career, and also what would you advise to general players?
Chess is like an ocean. There is nothing to like point out specifically. This I did and this helped me. So it is like a full package. You have to be working on every areas in chess, like opening, middle game, end game. Everything comes into play. You wouldn't know like the one thing which you had worked for like 1 month in like 2 years back would have helped you to win this tournament. You never knew that. Like, but that is the fact. So this is the work I'm doing right now, and the result I am getting in the next month has very less relevance other than the some opening preparation you did in the last minute that will help you to win the tournament. So it is better to think in overall aspect and long-term plan and keep working towards in every area. Don't just work on opening specific and lose out on the middle game and end game. It is better to divide the time as per the opening, middle game, end game, and also the calculation thing. Every aspect, like whatever chess has, you have to be working on that.
Yeah, also like since you like mentioned that you don't know what exactly helps you like achieve a certain goal, like how would you know that you're working on the right things? Like let's say you're working on tactics alone. So how would you know that it is the right thing to do or whether it's the wrong thing to do?
Yeah, this is the point where the coaches comes into play. So it's I would actually recommend everybody who was trying to become a professional chess like player to have a coach. So it saves a lot of time, you know, like which one to do what. Since chess is a vast like topic, the knowledge is available everywhere, but you need a little bit of guidance to which because it is not player specific. Like if it's not like sorry, it's more kind of player specific because one player may be kind of let's say a positional player. He needs more of balance structure. He should be improving on his strength as well as balancing on the openings which he plays, and he's getting a little bit of a defensive structure. He should know how to defend it. So those areas only like you can think, but it takes a lot of time from your side to come up with that. So to prevent that time gap, you can have a good coach who can figure it out for you and tell the right path to proceed.
Yeah. And also like it is important like especially when you're young like to choose the correct tournaments. Like a lot of people what they do is like they either play so many weaker tournaments compared to their strength, or and also there are people who play only strong tournaments, and so on. So, like, what is your general approach back then and also now regarding choosing tournaments? Like, how do you choose tournaments?
Okay. So I will tell from my aspect, when I play some tournaments in Europe, like you must have been traveling with me like long time. So what happens is we go to the tournaments and we will be playing a lot of. The main point of going to Europe is to play in the stronger events, right? So to get a lot of exposure out of it. That is actually the main goal. Like you want to compete against the stronger and get a bigger achievement in that level. That should be the main goal. Like keep on improving the progress. But it's not like since it's a let's take it practically. What happens is you can't be winning every tournament. You will also have your days back also. So that is the what happens when you're competing in the higher levels. Let's say if you're competing in a lower tournament where you are like in the top three seeds. So again, this also has something good. Like when you're playing in the top three, you know like you should come first. That is the ultimate aim of playing that tournament. So it actually builds the confidence. When you win the tournament, it ultimately builds a confidence, and you can proceed with the next tournament. And but I wouldn't say you should be playing every tournament as that level, like in the lower part, because what happens is when you face a higher opponent in the next tournament, you will feel a discomfort in yourself, like you won't be able to give your best since you will be facing weaker opponents in the previous tournament, and suddenly when you're facing the higher opponents, you will find it difficult. So you can play tournaments like of that sort, but most of the majority, it's better always to play a tournament of a stronger nature.
Yeah. And also, like one of the common questions regarding to tournaments is how many to play, let's say in a year, and also like how many to play continuously. Like for example, myself, I play a lot of tournaments. Uh, but okay, generally, like what is your recommendation to players of all levels? Like how many tournaments should they play?
Okay. So in earlier days, when I was at 15 or 14, that age, what people generally suggested me is play less tournaments and like quality tournaments, and in the meantime do your preparation. That was the recommended thing those times. I would say it is around the 2010 or sometimes when I came, like when I was doing the as a professional career. But now what happens is like a lot of things have changed. Like young people, the chess is becoming an young players game, right? You could have seen a lot of grandmasters becoming at a younger age. If you see their profile, they would have played as many as tournaments as possible in a given year. So
Yeah.
it's been keep on changing. So there is no right or wrong thing. It depends on your time. So if you have time to play tournaments, it's better to play tournaments as per the statistics of right now, but not too many tournaments that you won't be able to analyze your own games and come back. So you should be doing both. Like let's say if you're playing 60 to 70% of tournaments, you would be doing preparation for the remaining percentage. So that would be like I think is a better right now at this point because of a lot of exposure. Things are happening in tournaments, so I would recommend that.
Yeah. And also, you mentioned that like you cannot win every single tournament, and there will be bad days and failures as well. So generally, how do
Yeah.
you deal with failures or upsets? What is your general approach to it and routine or something?
Okay. So defense in chess is a day-to-day activity, like thing. So you can't expect anything. Like in a game, there are like surprise defeats where you face a low-rated opponent, and you wouldn't have expected that you would lose that day. That would be one thing, and like facing a higher opponent, and you may lose the game. So these things are so common in chess. You also not only you but also you see your friends or colleagues also having bad days. So it's a general part in chess. Like if you're a professional player, not only in chess but any other sports, this is a common thing. So instead of worrying about the game, losing and spending energy on that, what you should be doing is get back to the room, just sit and analyze the game, what went wrong, and just leave it as is. Like it's a game. Now move on to the next game. So if your pairings are ready, you just go and prepare for the next round. That's it. So it may be like difficult at first, but if it even if it's a very important game, if you're lost, it would have been like, of course, you will have some emotional thing going on, but try to come out of it as soon as possible. That is the best thing.
Yeah, like for example, like people who are very emotional, they cannot get back to this normal state, and sometimes they keep on losing games because of a single game. So like, how do you break that pattern? And like as you were saying, like how do you come back to normal state, especially for those emotional people?
Yeah, what happens is I've seen like even myself I've been like that. What happens when you lose a game, you lose interest in the tournament. So when you have a goal when you start a tournament, but what happens is when you have some unexpected loss or you didn't, even if you drew a game against a lower rated or some player and it didn't go well, even when you're in a winning position and you drew a game, everything is like an emotional impact on it gives an emotional impact on you. So what happens is when you come back, you won't have the much interest to prepare for the next round, and you will go off the routine which you have been doing it before, and you will become a complacent, and you will go to the like you will hang around with your friends or you may starting to like not give importance to the tournament. This is why this is the problem actually. Like what then of course the result won't be reflected the next day also. It will be continuing, keep continuing, and you will be also doing the same things. So to break the pattern, you have to be doing the next day. What happened? What would you have done when you have won the game? You would have been more energetic and you would have prepared for the next round, right? Similarly, you should be doing the same thing when you even if you lose the game and you do the like you come back to the room. Or other option is you should be able to change your emotional pattern. Say if you're feeling bad right now, maybe eating a good food, like you're going out to a restaurant and can change someone's mind basically. So maybe not too much, like not too drastic things, like going to a film, that would be very drastic. That would like completely change you out of the course. That is not recommended. Like little things like what you do in a day to day, like sleeping bit early to the that day would be better. So maybe those little things changes would break those patterns.
Yeah, especially in India, I also try to go to movies by time to time. So I guess I also have that
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. I also remember accompanying in one tournament.
Yeah, like in India,
Yeah.
mostly I would go. So yeah. Anyway, so let's move on. Like, and also, what is your general attitude? Like, in a tournament, obviously, you will be playing stronger players and sometimes also weaker players. So, like, some players play differently against higher rated players, and some players play, I mean, basically differently against lower rated players. So, like, do you have a, particular approach for anyone, or like, do you have anything? Like, what is your general attitude towards each of the higher rated and lower rated players?
Initially, when I started chess, I was like, I would be playing some, like, how do you say, attacking chess. Like, I wanted to win every game. So I don't care about the opponents. That age, luckily I don't care about my opponents because I know like nowadays it's people are want to make a draw against if it's a higher rated player. Those things were there. But when I started chess, I was like a very aggressive type of person. I would lose a lot of games actually because of that. But it was fine for me because winning was like a very important thing for me. So I would be playing some aggressive chess and I was keeping on going on that. Even like in equal positions, I would do something like even if it's harming my own position, I would do something like that and get a bad position. And I would have, I then it would become a double-edged position and the result may like go in any way. So that was my starting phase. Even till when I won the national championship, I think I was doing that. But after a little bit of coming back, like after gaining a little bit of maturity, I would say around after the age of 18 or 19 when I went to college. So I know like this is not the right way to do it. You know, you should be able to play all types of positions in chess. Chess is not like you will attack every time. Even if it's a positional like or a closed position, will be trying to attack is like a stupidity. So that's when I learned like how to play close positions or how to play positionally also. So it's a mix and match like how you do it. So both style of play and so regarding the question, we are like you asked me, what is the second part of the question?
Like I mean, what is your attitude playing higher rated and low rated players?
Yeah. So yeah, so mix and match of that. So nowadays, what I do is it depends completely on the tournament situation. So if I'm starting out, let's say I'm playing in this first few rounds, let's say five, like first 5 rounds, it doesn't matter. Like every game you will be playing for win. Whoever it is, like lower rated, definitely you will play for. Even if it's higher rated, you will be playing for win because there's nothing to lose in the starting of the tournament. Only when you're like, for example, if you're in the leading situation, like even if it's a draw itself, you are able to win a title, then I would consider going for an equal position or maybe where there is no like chances like giving for the opponent, that kind of situation. But most of the time, I will play according to the position, and I will also recommend everyone to do that. Like you should be playing according to the position, not according to your opponent. There can be little bit of things like when your opponent has some certain styles, you can prepare openings according to it. But in the game, it is always better to go according to the position.
Yeah. Okay, before moving on, like there is a audience question, and like we also accept audience questions. So this one is from I am Siddhant Mohapatra, and is asking, what is
Okay.
your most memorable and embarrassing moment in a chess tournament?
Okay. So a memorable moment is able to play in World Cup. So I got qualified after winning national championship. I was able to. So that is also one of the memorable moments, winning the national championship. But able to participate in World Cup was such a huge thing at that point. Also against Caruana, and so I lost in the first round, but the second round I was able to make a draw. So that was one of a memorable moment for me, able to make a draw against world number two at that point he was. That was one of my memorable moments. And embarrassing moments uh, could be many actually. So, but nothing strikes me at this point. Game wise, that's not an embarrassing moment I would recollect. But I remember like when I was kid, like not kid, like I was in fifth or sixth grade, like we were playing this national championship, this national cities, right? And I was representing my school actually. We had a very strong team in school. Like it's not Velamal, maybe you would have expected a Velamal, but it was Jawahar Vidyalaya. So we had a pretty good team, and we actually finished second place in that tournament. So, but what that embarrassing thing happened is when I was I think I was in class grade seven or eight, I remember. I finished my game and I was like circling around this fountain thing. And what happened is I slipped and I fell inside the fountain. So
Uh,
that was like, so that was quite embarrassing for me.
was it
I
like, did
remember
anyone
that.
say it, or like
Yeah, yeah, my PT sir was watching that whole time, and he was in time to save me.
okay, okay. Yeah, okay, that's a nice story. And also, the next question is like there is another question from Chess 2016 AD, and it's like a
Okay.
general question like how to improve chess skills. So, and also like generally, it's about like what to do in order to improve chess, like what to work on and so on.
As we discussed in the previous question itself of yours, so chess is a very broad aspect. So there is nothing like you can do wrong basically. If you do something, you will improve in some way. So as I said, instead of like if you're taking chess as a professional career, it is better to have a coach so that you know like when it varies according to different players. So some players may have some needs, other players may have some needs. But in general, if you're asking, you have to be doing work in every categories like opening, middle game, end game, calculations, or time management. Everything comes into play. So only if you're able to master everything, you will see the overall growth. If you're working in particular areas, let's say you're working in endgame for 1 year, you will be able to improve in endgame a lot, but you will be missing out on other ends. And your result is based on the whole game, not only on endings, right?
Yeah.
There's no end game contest and all happening in chess. So you can't be expecting results, overall results. So to have an overall result, you have to be working every areas in chess.
Yeah, and also like as of training, like there are two ways I feel like one is passive training and this one is active training. Like
Yeah.
active training, you try to solve stuff and you basically use your mind a lot. And passive training is like watching a video or you know solve like doing easier things. So basically, when you're not that active with your mind. So like, do you think
Yeah,
is it
true.
okay to do passive training or is it important to do active training in chess?
Yeah, that's a nice thing. The point is when you do this passive training, you will have an illusion that you are learning a lot, like you're getting to know a lot of information and everything. That is somewhat true, but only if you're able to apply those information in your own game, you are learning from it. So that comes from an active training. So active training is the important part of like it is like an application, like the practical thing. Passive is like more like a theoretical thing. You are getting to know a lot of things. You may even take a notes out of it, but only if you apply, which you are actually doing in an active training, like analyzing or calculating. That is only when you are actually learning or you're able to improve your skills. So you can have maybe the percentage wise, I would say 80% of active learning and 20% will be passive learning.
Mm, okay. Yeah, and also there's this question about like you're talking about there's also this time factor which is important, like how much hours you put in. So there's a question from Rahul Krishna, and he's asking, as an
Mhm.
amateur player, is it okay to put every day 3 to 4 hours on chess and improve by watching video and playing online?
Yeah, definitely. 3 to 4 hours is a good time to spend on chess. Maybe if you ask a professional player, maybe you and me, time keeps on varying, right? Like if you are playing a tournament, time varies, and if you're off the tournament list, it depends on our schedule and all. So if you the maximum effort you put will automatically reflect on your results. So if you're able to put 6 hours, and of course it is better than 3 to 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
It depends to individual also because let's say for example, uh, if we are preparing for 4 hours, it's not the same when Magnus calls and he's spending 4 hours. It will be of more higher intensity and more quality basic because his understanding is different and the 4 hours work is it actually carries an exponential way. So if you're a beginner who is learning for 4 hours, then so that is actually the approximate calculation. It doesn't depend upon every player. So if you are in a particular standard and if you're doing particular hours, it has its own values. So if you're starting out, it's better to spend a lot of time. And next part is like playing online is. I think it is better to restrict it to like maximum half an hour to 1 hour because you won't be like improving a lot by playing online. That is my suggestion. If it's a classical game, well and good, but the blitz format or even the rapid, like you can't be learning a lot. Only if you're analyzing those online games, you get to learn things from it.
Yeah, I was watching your Instagram post where you were playing online games, also promoting Grandmaster Arjun's course. I think like you were playing B3 and all. So like, is it like the same thing restricted like 30 minutes per day max kind of thing, or like nowadays you play for fun also for more longer duration?
That is the one which I was posting in Instagram was basically to test how Instagram Reels was working. So, so I was having the ChessGrad page actually. So I wanted to try how basically this Instagram Reels work. So I was testing it out with some blitz bullet games which I play for fun. Yeah, the bullet game which I am playing is just for fun, and whatever I do there, it's completely nothing. Little bit of chess relevance when I post some tactical thing, but other than that, it's completely fun, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to play let's mean bullet format because it doesn't help you anyway unless if you're competing for bullet championship tournament, it's not helping you in any way.
Hmm. And coming to, while playing tournaments, what is your general routine? Like, do you follow a specific routine or something? And especially, like, Siddhant also asked you to talk about national day which you won, and I think he's talking about the one which you won when you were 16 years old. So generally, like, let's take that as an example. What was your routine like, and like, is it changed by now?
So my routine, yeah, it has changed a lot. It was in 2012 which I won the tournament. So by the time that time I was accompanied by my mother. So so most of the activities like food and accommodation, everything was taken care by my mom. So I didn't have much to think about it. I was just focusing on chess most of the time during the tournament. So basically, what happens is, and even Karthik and Murli was staying with me at that point. Like we were like together at that time. So we were like just like playing for fun. This tournament itself, like it was a big tournament, right? Like we weren't. We were just taking it as it is. Like we first was expecting to finish with norm certificates. That's what it went. Later, when the tournament went, a lot of things have changed when I started beating like few grandmasters in a row. So regarding the routine part, it's nothing special. Like I would be in the morning, I will have my breakfast and have some do my preparation. Okay, the round is around 3 p.m. and I will go for the tournament. I will come back. We will have a dinner. Then I will do a bit of chess and I will go back to sleep. That was the only routine I was doing in 2012. So, but now things have changed since I've started traveling alone after my college. Like so, that time maybe we have to think. We have to take everything into consideration, right? Like yeah, food, everything. What I do is if there is one single round every time, like most of the tournaments right now we are participating is in Europe, so I would try to make food for breakfast and lunch and dinner. If the round is getting late, like six to if the round is in Europe starts just by 6 o'clock, so dinner around I will just have outside and I will be analyzing the games which I played on that day and also try to check what are my opponents plays in the next round. So that's how it goes. And in the morning, I will wake up and have some water and get some physical activity like jogging thing. Then I will prepare a breakfast and do my opening or general preparation, whichever. Like I will plan it out depending on the game. and have my lunch and go to the tournament.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you jog for physical fitness. Like, what is your general fitness routine? Physical fitness routine, and like, do you think it's important for chess players to train physically and to be physically fit?
Yeah, it's not okay. Fitness is for everyone, and for especially if you're a chess player, you need it more because you spend a lot of time sitting. So our body is made to be active. So it doesn't like sitting actually. So if you're spending a lot of time sitting, you have to do a lot of physical activity to compensate it. So in a chess tournament, if you are playing, especially a tournament where it's of important to you, it's very important you do your physical activity to get a lot of positive emotions going on. So once you have done your jogging or any physical activity, you will feel this positive emotions in you, and that can actually help even in your game. So other than my routine of actually I when I'm home I go to gym. If I'm in the tournament, I try to do like a little bit of body weight exercises and a little bit of walking combined with jogging.
Mm, okay. And also, like, while playing tournaments, there can be a lot of pressures. Like, for some people it could be for scoring norms or something, and like, for some
Mhm.
people it could be specific opponents or specific rounds, important rounds. So, like, in general, like, how do you cope with these pressures, especially when scoring norms, and also, like, let's say you're playing an important game and you need to win or make a draw. So, like, how do you cope with those situations?
Very I had only few times those feelings. I think 3 to 4 times when I was so close to something and I missed in the norm section. I would say. So those times, what went wrong, I would say, is I was too focused on the result. Like I want to make a draw, or I want to win next round. So I was too focused on that, and I missed the next important part, which is the game. So that is actually an advice I would say is we should completely forget that norm part and just play our game. So it actually brings down all the pressure. It is very difficult thing to do. Like it's easier to say, but if you're able to do that, it's just a game. Like it's a normal game. Normal. If you're good play, if you're good than your opponent, you will definitely win. You're going to win. So that's how it works. If you want to leave, I mean, so that's actually a tricky part when you are like it's when you're trying to do that. Also, you will have those feelings. But if you keep doing it for a little while, like say few tournaments, if you're able to try it out, it's not only just pressure on the norms. Even it can be pressure to win the next game and win the tournament, or you want to get the lead, or maybe even if you're facing a high-rated opponent, you can get that pressure. So try this out, and I think you will keep on improving on it. It's a long process actually. It's not like you can fix it in one go.
Yeah. And also, like, coming to, the diet and so on, like, a lot of people, some people are specific during the tournaments to avoid certain foods. And like, some people obviously eat very healthy, and there are also chess players who eat, whatever they like. So, like, what is your general approach? Do you follow any diet or something?
Diet wise, there's no specific diet. I would try to avoid few things, especially if I'm playing a game next round. Like let's say the round is at 3 p.m. and I'm having a lunch. What I do is I try to have a lunch a little bit earlier. Like not I'm not going to have a lunch just before the round. So I will try to avoid that. I will have a lunch around like 1 p.m. I actually have tried many things to be honest. Like I've tried not eating anything and just going for the round. I've tried that. because I will feel a little bit sleepy when I eat that time. But that is that what is the drawback of that was like when you play a longer game, you tend to break down, like your hunger overtakes your game. So that is not advisable for anyone. So that is one thing. And the second thing is, which is the best thing, is to have lunch like 2 to 2.5 hours before the round, so that you are able to so the digestion process, because it's a long process, that is when you feel the sleepy time and all. And if you go through that, then you will have those carbs, energy and all for the game. And if in nights, I won't mind, like even if you're eating a bigger meal, it's fine, like the round is completed. And other one more thing is, I would try to avoid a lot of oily foods.
And also like in town, some tournaments the rounds are in the morning, and some tournaments it is usually in the afternoon. So like
Yeah.
first of all, which rounds do you prefer, morning or evening? And like how do you set your schedule according to that?
Yeah, so some rounds, especially even in the evening rounds, the last round would be on the morning.
Yeah,
So for me, I would actually, as a professional sports person, I would say I have used it to my advantage most of the times, because I know like not every player likes to play in the morning.
yeah,
So I actually like it, like somehow like I feel fresh in the morning compared to the evening lunch rounds. I would go for actually the morning or the evening round, which is happening after like 3 or 4 p.m. That is fine. But the 2 p.m. is kind of like a in between, like lunchtime. That is quite difficult. Like that is where you have to be careful not to eat a little late. And you know what happens, right? Like in tournaments, we are just getting up and preparing for the round, and suddenly this lunchtime approaches and you don't have time to eat, and you just eat whatever you have. So that is kind of a bad thing which we do. So if it's a morning, you can have healthy breakfast. Like breakfast is fine. Like you can just have it like 1 hour before the round or half an hour. That is fine, because you're going to have less food then, and the morning freshness you will have while playing. That is, I feel good about that.
yeah. And also like especially morning rounds, some people have this difficulty of you know going to bed and sleeping early. Like usually they sleep late, so they cannot all of a sudden sleep early. Like, do you have any of that kind of problem, or like, what would you suggest to those players who cannot go to bed early?
No, I personally faced that problem also. Like I used to be going to 12 or 1 p.m. I mean 1 a.m. at night, and getting up at 9, 8 or 9 o'clock. But suddenly the last round will be at 9 o'clock. So even I have faced that problem. You will have a little bit of, I mean, in the morning you would not feel like energized when you wake up at that time. But yeah, what you have to be doing is you have to have a good routine. So maybe if you're like super focused on the tournament, you should be knowing that your last round, which is mostly like the crucial round of the tournament, you should be planning it out and going to sleep a little bit early, like at around 11 or 10 o'clock. And just for that one round, you have to have this whole routine set. But if you're not able to do that, then you have to like do it in the fashion which we are doing it. So there's no like clear advice on that. But if you're playing a tournament where every round is at 10 a.m. or something, like which happens in Chennai Open, which you used to play, right?
Yeah,
So in that format, you can have a schedule, like you can sleep early and wake up early.
yeah. And one final question before moving on to the chess part, uh,
Hmm.
we chess players travel a lot. Sometimes we play in Asia, sometimes we go to Europe. and there's this change of timings actually. Like there are different time zones and all. So for me, especially, like I found it difficult playing in the US because it's almost like 2 hours difference. So like it took me like almost 3 or 4 days to get used to that. Like so, generally, did you face any of those changing time zone problems, or like, and if so, like how did you cope with it?
I've never faced those problems basically. So I will usually arrive like 1 or 2 days before. If it's an Euro trip, I actually arrive like few days before itself, and I take a road trip and all. If you, I won't. For example, if I'm traveling to Bale, I would just go to the capital city of Switzerland, and I will be taking a road trip like that. So I will, in by that time, I will be able to adjust this to these timings. So I've never actually personally faced those problems. Only problem I face is when I come back to India, I won't be able to sleep on time.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's move on to the chess part. So let's start with the openings itself. So first of all, like I feel like your main move is e4 from white side, and also like you generally, like as far as I know, like you play a set of openings, and so like how do you work on your openings, and like do you feel that like playing a set of openings would be easier for your opponents to prepare?
Yeah, there are two types actually. One is to place set of openings, and the other type is to have a wide variety of openings. So, in general, it is best to have a wide variety of openings well learned. But it takes a lot of time actually, to be honest. Like it takes, you have to be well versed in everything, and you also its opening is not a permanent thing. It keeps on adding to it, right? You have to be keep updating on whatever happens. So when you're playing a set of openings, it can be very easier for you, and you will know what is happening where, and you can easily update. Even if a simple, like a single move which you see in a live game, you can easily update it. But it is not the same case when you're playing a lot of openings, because if there's a 10 round, let's say if the candidates is happening, all 10 games will be regarding your opening theory, and you have to be keep updating on it. It's when you're doing it as a long process, but of course that is the best way to do it right now. When I started playing chess, I was trained that way, like to have a set of openings and go on progressing on it. But that can be only helping you to some extent. The drawback, of course, is like your opponent is can easily prepare against your opening, so that is the drawback. So it depends on players. Like if you're playing maybe in the beginning stage, it is not necessary. But once you attained a very good level in chess, you should start learning a lot of other openings to not only to improve your opening but also to increase your overall understanding. So that's what I do. Like even though I don't play much openings, I have started playing it maybe in the recently last 2 years. But before that, also what I do is I analyze games which is of not of my openings to get the basic understanding of the structures.
Okay. So generally, like if someone is starting a new opening or something, so the first thing you would suggest is to study a lot of games, or like what is the general process like while studying a new opening?
So when you're starting to play chess openings, it's better to first find out the best games in the opening. You can find it in a different way. One thing is try to find who started playing that opening. Like for example, if you say e4, e5, if you go back to the old times, like a lot of players started playing it, but only the well, if you can see it started out like the well-established players like Steinites, Lasker, those world champions. So if you study those games, which is also like very important in a classical way of understanding the game, then you will understand it in a better way. Then first you should be considering what like old players are playing, and now what is the trend. You will be surprised to find lot of openings which is played in the old times still remains the test of time. So that is one starting way of moving with the chess openings.
Yeah, and there's also this, like when I was young, my coach used to tell me that openings are not important, like end games are the most important. So, like, do you think it's a myth or something, or it is true to an extent?
It is true to an extent for a player rating category, I would say. If you are a starting beginner, opening is not important because your opponents also will be of your standard and they won't be playing in the openings, right?
Yep.
So you can't be like, I will try to exploit him with his novelty and all. There won't be like, you won't get the opportunity only. So there's no point in spending long hours on opening. Whereas the middle game or end game, which is which is a never it's never going to change. Like end game rules or theories will always remain the same. Whereas the opening part, if you learn it now, for like you spend a lot of time learning now, and you're going, you wouldn't touch it for like 1 year, then it's going to be completely different the next day. So that is why it is important to go with the end game first in the opening, I mean, starting phase of your chess career, so that it is like a permanent thing, and it will always be the same, and it won't change. Opening part, I think you can start like giving it a serious importance when you have a very good FIDE rating of maybe 1800 plus. You can start focusing more on opening.
Yeah, and there are also, certain openings where you feel uncomfortable. And like, let's say you start playing French defense with the black side, and you
Mhm.
studied the games and you started playing, and you face some initial losses. Like, do you need to see that as a sign that you're not good at that opening and leave it, or do you analyze those games and then keep on improving and keep on playing the opening itself?
Yeah, opening phase. It also depends on how you feel when you're playing that opening. If you're playing French defense, and you still feel like your C8 bishop is somewhat so passive, and you don't feel like black is able to get enough counterplay, then it's not. There's no point in like playing it. Even though the opening in itself is not a problem, the way you're feeling about the opening has some problem to it, right?
Yeah.
So that time maybe you will have more preference to playing the Sicilian defense. Then it's completely fine to like move on to the other opening. But that is actually the like personal preferences according to opening. But that even though we can talk about it like personal preference, when you go to higher levels, personal preference doesn't come to play actually. Like what comes into play is your opponent's choices, like how to exploit your opponent weaknesses. That time you will be more focused on how this French defense is able to exploit your opponent's drawbacks. Maybe he's a little bit weak in Vinaber French variation. So if you're able to spot it out from your knowledge, then you will play the French automatically. Even though you don't like it, but you will try to exploit it somehow. So that is like little bit higher level. But when you're in the middle level, intermediate or like beginner to intermediate level, it is like you can go with your own preferred choice.
Okay, before moving on to the next question, there's a question from Ajay. So he's asking, which is your favorite chess book?
My favorite chess book, I like this My Great Predecessor series by Castro. So it is like a very good read. Like you will gain a lot of knowledge. And starting out, I learned from my system Nimzowitz book. So which also I would recommend to everybody.
Okay, and moving on to other parts of the game, like one of the most important thing is obviously calculation. So generally,
Mhm.
like how do you train calculation? Like there are, I feel like there are two ways of solving. I mean, improving a calculation, like solving studies and also solving, puzzles. I mean, positions which arise from the game. So, like, what is your
Mhm.
general preference, and like, what would you recommend to the viewers as well?
Okay. So calculation, from a practical point of view, the calculation which arises in board is not going to be studies, right? So studies are made for just for a different purpose, but it also helps in your long calculation things. Like if you wanted to improve your focus and wanted to find it, like spend more time on calculation, you can do studies. But I wouldn't recommend it doing it every day for certain like 1 hour, 2 hours. That is not a, like a practical way of doing it. It improves different type of your skills in calculation. It's not like a complete thing, but it definitely improves some different skills. Like you're able to calculate a long sequence of moves. You're able to calculate, able to creatively calculate things. In that way, it is helpful. But in a day-to-day, like when you're playing a tournament, the calculation which happens in the board is not only a sequence of moves but also a time thing. So you will be spending a certain time. Let's say your clock will be ticking and you will have only 20 minutes left on the clock. So you have to be able to do it in a precise manner. So what I prefer is doing a timed calculations where you have a set of time for a particular position. Let's say you have a position on board. You will set a time, for example, 15 minutes. If you're not able to solve that position in 15 minutes, you move on to the next position. That's how it works. You can't be sitting on a particular position for 1 hour and doing it. So that's how I do in general calculations.
Actually, I was expecting you to say that you solve a lot of studies because a lot of people from Chennai I know of, like, they are very good at studies, and they usually, like, the initial coaches, train them to solving studies and so on. So I was kind of expecting you to say that.
Studies in general, it's not a practical way of doing it, but see, the point of playing, like doing calculation and everything, is that you'll be able to do better in your chessboard, right? Studies is when you see, I don't know, like how many positions you have got studies in your actual game. You wouldn't even recognize it if even if the question arises on board, right? Because it's most probably it will be an end game and where you will have very few seconds left on the clock. So practically it's close to impossible to have that position on chessboard. Whereas if you're having an actual position where two players are played and caught in position, it will have some understanding, like you will know the structure. It arises from, for example, it can be arise from a queen's gambit position. You will know that. You will know some, recognize your own patterns in that. What like the bishop and head on sacrifice can come. You will know those things. So it will have a lot of relevance to a practical game, which you can't be expecting from a study. As I said, the studies can help you in creativity. Like you will be able to visualize longer, and you will be able to creatively think. It not only helps in calculation, but it can studies can help in overall chess improvement.
Yeah.
So it's not only focused on calculation part. That's what I'm saying. Of course, it's important to do studies also, but I wouldn't recommend it doing it in every day.
Mm. Okay, and moving forward, like, how do you work on, general understanding or, positional aspect of the game? And usually, like, calculation, a lot of people try to sit on a board and try to calculate. Whereas when it comes to, positional understanding, like, a lot of people don't know how to work on them. So, like, what is your general approach to that?
There are a lot of books which particularly targets positional understanding in chess. Especially right now, the important like Boris Gelfand books, like a lot of books he has written, like it's all based on the positional sense. When I'm starting out, I think which helped me much was mm, it was Silman's book, like how to reassess. I mean, your chess. I think maybe you would have heard of that, right?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, yeah. That book was, I think, was one of my favorite. It was like starting out. And yeah, of course, Nimzowitsch buy system. It talks a lot about the importance of positional play. Those two books are good. And one more book I couldn't attend by Stein. I think it's Simple Chess. I think so. These books were like my foundation for this positional sense. These are like if you read these books, you will automatically gain knowledge and positional chess. Other than that, you can choose openings, which let's say if you're playing one d4, you will automatically have a positional sense, right?
Yeah.
So you can choose openings of that sort to improve your understanding on positional things.
Yeah, that is a very interesting approach, actually. And there's a question from Ariaran. So he's asking, your first ever championship was it organized by Jawahar Vidyalaya or some other tournament?
Yeah, that is actually true. Like the first state championship which I won when I was 12, I think, 12 to 13, was in Jawar Vidya. It was under 25 state championship. It was held in Chennai only in my kindergarten school. They usually conduct it every year, and that was actually my first state championship which I won. Yeah, it was
Okay.
conducted by my school actually.
Okay, interesting. So, and one of the things you mentioned was your favorite chess book is this My Great Predecessor series. And I want to know exactly like how do you study those kind of books where there are a lot of games and usually you see the next move right away. So in general you cannot try to guess the move when you're studying alone. So like what is your general
Yeah.
approach while reading those kind of books, classical books?
So one way to do is just ask your mom or dad to keep the position and try to find it out. But it depends on your parents' time. If you have a coach, he can help you in that one. If you're reading it, okay, I would do it in like I would try to avoid saying the move and just focus on that. Maybe I will have something to hide the move so that I can focus only on the chessboard and think on that position.
Oh, okay.
So that is one way of doing it. Other thing is I don't care like I don't even though if I able to see the board, I even see the move, I will just go through like reading a chess book, reading a non fiction story or something. I will just keep reading on the book. So it's a very big like collection. Like it's not I'm not going to finish it in 1 or 2 days. It's a I think I've done it in I don't even remember I completed every book. It's actually in my desk one day. so so yeah, it is. But it's like a how do I say? It's like a Bible in chess kind of book, right?
Yeah.
It has covered all the classical players, so it is very important book. You can read it any time actually.
Yeah, and coming to end games, there are a lot of myths. Like especially in junior tournaments, I used to hear that you need to start by learning end games. Only then you can become a decent chess player. So, like, how important do you think are studying end games? And if so, like, what is the right way to study them?
So end games again. When I just say the word end game, I only remember the books. So Doris's end game manuals was my like again like a bible for the end game. It covers the most of the things, and also there are a lot of books there. End games is quite important because it not only improves your just your understanding, it also improves your technique. When you're able to play a very good end game, it means you have a very good technique in general. So I know like Hari Krishna in India plays a very good style, right? In game style. He learns it from. It's not because he is able to. He's able to only play the end game position, but he's also able to play a very good middle game technique and all. He can show it. It generates from its understanding in the end game only. So endgame complements your middle game style also. That is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and okay, now we can move on to your tournament victories and important wins and so on. So first of all, like whenever
Okay.
I hear your name, like I just remember the national championship. Like it was just a magnificent, like you just dominated. I mean, like obviously there were you had rivals like Emma Venkatesh, but you kind of dominated the tournament. So like what was going on during the tournament? Like can you take us through the moments of during that tournament?
Okay. So like everybody know like what happened was I got qualified before the tournament. I actually qualified in national challenges. So that was actually more fascinating. My national A actually. Many people don't know that. So I'll just start from the national challenges.
Yeah.
The starting point is like you have to be like finish in top 30 to qualify for national A. That was the procedure back then. And I think I completed my 10th standard grade and I didn't have much preparation. I just came to play these national challenges and I started to lead the tournament very in the early phase of the game itself. I was not even a title player at that point. I was leading at some point 1 point ahead and all. Then I just slipped. I just lost. I was able to beat everybody in the top boards, and I got paired against like a lower rated player, and that game I lost it. And then it was like a heartbreak moment for me. I thought like I will just win this tournament like 1 point ahead and all, but then everything turned down, and I think I finished third place in that one.
Mm,
Still, I was able to qualify for this national game. That was itself actually a big moment for me, like qualifying for the national league. Like I played in the previous tournament also. Like previous year in the national league, I think I finished in the 20th place. So again qualifying, in spite of like having a break in the 10th standard, I was very happy about it. Okay, then those nationalists, I think, actually started on my birthday. Like October 1st is my birthday, and the tournament also like started off on the same day. The first day I was playing against Deepan Chakravarti,
okay.
our grandmaster from my own state. I think the game ended in a draw, and so that's how it started off very slowly. Before the tournament, like every tournament that time, what I have is like whatever may be the tournament, it may be a World Cup or anything. All I have in mind is like I have to win that tournament. So I had this attitude like just before because before the tournament I don't feel any pressure to think about it. Like I just feel like whatever it may be, I should win the tournament. That was my attitude. But after entering the tournament and seeing a lot of players, maybe my mind a little bit changed and I wanted to just get a norm out of it. It would be fine. Because I remember those moments clearly since it's a very unique tournament for me. Okay, that happened, and in the first three rounds, I think the third round I lost against Lalit Babu, and for the first three rounds I was only at 1.5 points. So then I picked up the phase, and I was like able to score a little, like 2 to 3 victories game after game, and there was a rest day actually, like after 7 rounds. In the seventh round, I drew against Vijit, and it was a short game and we had some party going on and I was like close to get my first international master now.
Oh,
So I just needed to score a half a point. I thought like in the next round I was paired against Sahaj Grover, so I was preparing a lot for that round. So I was also confident that I would just be able to do that. But what happened is like I lost very badly in that game against Raj Grover, and I was very disappointed at that point because I was not able to get my norm. And next day I didn't think much, and I just that was eighth round. I was paired against Kidambi. I think I just came to the game, but lucky I was actually completed. I have completed my norm before round itself. I didn't know that. Only when I came back to the playing hall, I saw that notice board. Anantaraman sir has mentioned like I've got my norm. So that was my first success in that tournament. So I was quite. I was at that time. There was no pressure on that. The only motive of the coming to the tournament has been achieved at that time. So I didn't think. I was just playing like free bird. I would say like I didn't have any more pressure at all. And then I played against Kirambi, I won, and next round I was Swapnil top play. I didn't even feel like playing for any, what do I say, like safe and all. Since I'm on motive of getting a norm has been achieved already, so I was just playing for win every game. And I bet Swapnil to opening. So next day I was paired against Emma Venkatesh. So that time he was leading 1 point ahead of me. So I was paired against him and I was playing in the first board. Then you must have all know like the tragic thing happened for him. Like he came late to the round where there was 0 minute tolerance, and that time what was the rule was like I was willing to play because since I told you like the only motive for me is to complete the international round that one. I was like happy to be playing with him. Like I know him also personally, so I was ready to play. But the organizer said it's not possible as per the rules. They even contacted, I think, the association to ask if it's possible to allow him to play, but it was not permitted. So that's how I got a point, and I was like equal points with him. So next day, since Emma Venkatesh was leading by like 1 point before round itself, he didn't have an opponent. I had to be paired against him in the next round also. So next round I was paired against him and we played a game. It was like a lot of tense moments and he blended in just before the time control and I won. So I went in the half point lead in the final round. Final round I played against Deep Sengupta and I drew a few moves. Like it was a game I had my chances, but I took a perpetual at some point. Like it was like so tense in especially the last round. But the final game actually revolved around Adiban versus Vidit. Like Vidit was the one who was next to me. If he wins that game against Adiban, it actually like levels with my score. But he
Uh,
had a better tie break than me because our game actually ended in a draw in the first half. So then the tie break is the second thing where Buchholz was he had a very good Buchholz than me. So that was a 10. So we were like following the game and but the game actually ended in a draw and I was able to win the tournament. So that was the whole
yeah,
cycle.
yeah, that was a nice experience for you for sure. And also like you, I think you finished your IM title and then you took a break for doing your engineering and stuff. And then once you came back, and I think if I'm not wrong, within 2 years you became a grandmaster. Like your second norm, I think you scored in Hungary, right? In that
Yeah,
Balaton
right.
somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Balaton.
Yeah, Balaton, and third norm you scored in Sikkim. So, like, what was your experience playing in that Hungary tournament, and also like scoring your final norm in Sikkim?
Yeah, after my college, I was like playing a lot of tournaments. I was participating both in India and Europe. So I was getting close to the norms, but I was not able to finishing like give a closure to it. It kept on going for a while. Then at some point, like I didn't take it as a big deal. Like I had my moments, like bad moments and all, but then at some point, I just okay, let's play a good game. That's it. I just didn't think a lot about the results. I was kept going. Hungary was a last minute plan. I never actually planned to play on Hungary. I was playing first few tournaments. Like I started with BL, I think, in Switzerland. Then I played a tournament in Austria and no, first was beer, second was Latvia, this Riga Open, and third was Austria, and fourth tournament was actually the Hungary one. Like I was about to go back to India. Okay, let's play this round robin event also, see what happens. And I just went there, and that turned out to be very good. Like I think I finished like 2.5 points, like 2.5 points with the difference. I won the tournament. So that made me like I think I scored 8 out of 9, and so that was a pretty like unexpected norm for me, and so that was a good time. Like I, after like long after 2012 nationally, where I also scored my Grandmaster. Now this was like 8 years gap, 7 years gap ago. Maybe second now. And then in the Sikkim, again, I think I had a bad tournament in the previous one in Turkey. I had a very bad tournament. And I came back to Sikkim. I was like normal. Let's play the normal game. And in Sikkim, of course, I wanted to win the tournament. Like I was, like that is my aim of the playing in that one. This Grandmaster, I wasn't focused. Again, I wasn't focusing much on the title. I mean, the norm. It is also like a byproduct of me playing for the to win the tournament.
Yeah, and and also like you were supposed to play in Prague Masters, which Sam Shankland won, right? Like you won in 2020, and you were supposed to play, if I'm not wrong, right? Or is it different?
Not in Masters. Like Masters was the A category. There's a B category which is
Okay.
challenges. So I got qualified for the challenges one, but due to Corona, like COVID situation, the organizers themselves messaged me if it's okay, you can play in the next year.
Okay.
So yeah, that was good for me, like because we were very uncertain how things would proceed. So I was okay with that and decided to do it in next year.
Yeah, and moving forward, like what are your goals? Like what are your plans? Are there any plans to play in the Europe or anything? Like what is your plan moving forward?
Okay, moving forward, like in this pandemic, I've started taking coaching also. That's how in the beginning part I started my coaching career also. So since like I started very like just few like maybe 6 months, so I just wanted to be in this region for some time. So I decided to like do this for this 1 year, and I would be next year I will start playing chess and doing both.
Okay. So yeah, that was the questions like all I had. Like so first of all, thank you for coming and answering my questions. I don't know if it was boring or not, but thank you for answering. And I hope you enjoyed as well. And yeah, and good luck
Sure,
for
sure.
and also like I've seen your channel, some of your videos, and like I wish you good luck for the YouTube channel and also chess career as well.
Thank you, thank you, and keep doing your work. It's been very informative. I personally found it very informative. So I also wish you all the best in your chess career as well as also your chess cult team.
Thank you. And again,
Okay.
thank you viewers for watching patiently and hope